Hello, welcome to Sterling Armory's Sword Talk. This is Sword Talk episode 10. So wow, we've gone all the way to 10 already. Today we have a great episode. We have a new guest speaker, or new guest guest coming on, and we definitely enjoy having guests come on. And if you're new to Sword Talk, basically we're just a bunch of sword makers who like drinking mead and talking swords and making blades. And here on Sword Talk, we talk about all kinds of topics in the world of swords, from the martial arts side to the stage combat side of theater, historical pieces, fantasy pieces, everything. So today's topic is going to be a lot of fun. And let's bring on our folks today. So Josh is joining us today, and then our new guest. Hey guys.
What's up, guys?
So Josh, do you want to give a quick intro? War bar.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but every show about thereabouts, it changes spelling.
Yeah.
It might be alcohol fueled, but it's too late to change it now.
Yep.
I'm Josh Warbear. You can find me on Instagram at Dark Archer Design with underscores between the words, or on Facebook at Joshua Von Warbear or Dark Archer Design, my website, unless Weebly's taken it down because I haven't paid on it in a decade. But yeah, you can find me those places.
Yeah, onlywarbears.com. Yeah.
Only Warbear, only furs. Yep. It's like OnlyFans, but with way more rug burn.
Right. Do you see there's a whole group now? It's only bats, and it's Batman costume for people.
Had no idea.
It's the same symbol as OnlyFans. It's hilarious.
Is it sex things or bat sex things, or is it?
I have no idea. I haven't been on it. I just saw it.
Answers must be, or questions must be answered.
Right.
Fields. We gotta know. Uh-huh.
And then our guest today, so Stephen Huerta, the famous Stephen. You want to give us a little intro for yourself?
Yeah. So my name is Stephen Huerta. So I run Stephen Huerta Custom Leatherworks on Facebook under the same name. I think Instagram is SH Custom Leather or Huerta Steve Custom Leather. I don't know. I hardly ever use Instagram. But so yeah, when I'm not rubbing butts and cracking backs by day, I do custom scabbard and grip work.
Wait a minute. What do you do by day again?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You're a massage therapist?
I'm a physical therapist. Yeah, that's my full time.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah. I'm just a fly by night leather guy when I have time.
Speaking of OnlyFans, okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
You never know when the cameras are rolling.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And so, and make sure, Stephen, remind me. So when this will post, we'll put all your links and everything in the comments as well.
Awesome.
So awesome. So thanks for coming on. We do have a bit of news we wanted to cover today. It's really important. So a fellow bladesmith in the community suffered a really tragic incident with his house burning down, and he lost his son. So I don't know, Stephen, if you want to give a little talk about that, or
sure. So I believe it was sometime in the last week or so it happened.
Yeah. So when this airs, it would have been about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, depending on when this airs.
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty tragic.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Thoughts and hearts are with you, buddy.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And I know they do have a I know in some of the various sword groups there's been a GoFundMe link going around to try and help his family out.
Yeah. So
really, really tragic stuff, unfortunately.
His last name was, I just asked you this and I just forgot it again.
Curse.
Yeah. So Brian Curse. All our thoughts, prayers out there with you guys. I saw it on Facebook and I was like, I can't imagine. So yeah. So if you need any help, don't hesitate to reach out, and then we'll also try to post the link. Although I don't know if it'll be active by the time that this actually opens or releases, but we'll see. So before we go into our topic, we usually share what we're drinking. So Josh, what are you drinking today?
I'm mixing up some blackberry port and a blackberry mojito and seeing what that's going to do for me.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I found. I think I did a show like No, I got a friend named Ronan, really good guy that's coming on to help grind some blades this week. He also makes wine in his off times, and he makes knives and does all kinds of other stuff. Yeah, but yeah, it's just a sticker with a Sharpie marker label.
Not at the same time, though, right? He doesn't do wine and knives at the same time, does he? Because that's impressive.
Yeah. He's got like a setup for his feet that squishes the grapes while his hand does flat grinds on the grinder. You can't see it, but my feet are still working. I know, it's irrelevant because you can't see it, but in my mind, I have to do it. But yeah, there's a metallic taste to a lot of it. I'm not sure what the pH is on any of that, but it's not too bad stuff. Plus, it just happened to be in the fridge.
There you go. So I'm still finishing off. It's my second bottle that I started with. I don't know if it was last recording or the one before. But yeah, the peanut butter whiskey, which is great, and in my Mando mug, which is kind of fitting for today's topic. So yeah, and Steven, what are you drinking?
So I have a bottle of E&J's finest brandy. Best $10 you could ever spend.
Brandy.
Nice. So, actually, I have some of that over on my counter or up in my alcohol.
It's surprisingly smooth for a $10 bottle of brandy, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay, so for our topic today was actually brought to us from Steven. And basically, it's going to kind of be an open topic. So usually when we do our topics, we're a bit more structured. And we have slides that we go through or, at least show images while we're talking about specific things. So this time is more of an open conversation. And yeah, I already almost forgot something before we go to the main topic. So Steve, a lot of people ask for our swords from Sterling Armory. How do I get a scabbard, or can I get a scabbard for my blades? And a lot of times we'll do probably the only scabbards I currently do when this airs is just a basic wood core scabbard. That's all I do. Mm-hmm. But if you want a more high-end custom scabbard, then Steven's your guy. So he's only about an hour and a half north of me, and 2 hours north.
Yeah,
and so if you order a sword and you want a custom scabbard, once the sword's done, I ship it to Steven. Steven makes a scabbard for it, and then the whole package gets shipped to you. So yeah, Steven, I don't know if you want to say anything else about your scabbards, or
yeah, I mean that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So typically I do need the sword in hand. I do have a lot of folks asking me to make swordless swords, and a lot of times it's really hard to do that because if you want a sword that properly fits, you have to have the blade in hand, right? Because you don't want it to rattle. You don't want it to slide out. You don't want an Aomir situation, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So, it has forsaken this land.
So that's probably the only downside to our blades is because we make everything one of a kind.
Right.
We don't have a set pattern for scabbards, or else I could just send Steven here's our blade shapes. We're making these. Because it just
I'll tell you too. I found that even with blades like Albion or some of these other guys that kind of CNC their stuff a little bit more, even those have a lot of little minor details that are a little bit different. So usually even if I do like a quote unquote swordless order, if I happen to have that model blade here in the shop, I always ask for just a cardboard tracing of the customer's blade. Because I've had times where I've found that that person's blade maybe at the tip is a little bit more narrow, and if I would have made it to the specs of my blade, it wouldn't have fit properly. So it's always good to have that little extra bit of security as well.
Yeah, I would think so. I know when I make mine here, just the wood cores. Sometimes they get a little loose, and you gotta because I actually make them before I sharpen the blades, and then you sharpen the blade, and you're like, oh, took a little too much off. So. But yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, if you need a high-end scabbard, Steven is your man. And again, all of his links will be below, so you can get a hold of him. Okay, so topic of today, back to that, is stage props and theatrical blades, and how else do we want to word this? Basically, we're going to do a whole topic today covering prop blades and prop swords and prop weapons. And it's a whole side of the sword world that a lot of the if you're on the HEMA or the historical side of swords of the sword world, you may not know too much about the prop side. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there, so we're going to talk about a lot of things today. And the biggest question I guess we're going to start with is all of us here have made a lot of props and prop weapons and prop swords. So the question we get asked all the time is, what do you do different when you make prop blade versus a real blade? So that's a very open-ended question that we're probably going to talk more specific about throughout the topic or throughout the chat. But let's start with some really quick things. Josh, you got any answers for that?
What was the question?
That's going to happen a lot. So when you're making a prop sword, what
do you do anything differently?
Yeah.
I actually like making props. So I say like making prop swords. Generally speaking, in film, there's 3 different swords that go out. 4 different swords that goes out. There's the foam prop for fighting. There's the aluminum or aluminium, if you're a European, sword that's for multiple takes, so it's not so heavy that it wears your arm out every time and over again. Then there's the steel sword that's the hero prop. And then there's the half sword, which is just the sword with only about 6 inches, so you can get full swings in, and then they just CGI in the blade later. So I actually like making the foam. I'm not so decent at making. I've not done a lot of foam work. I usually take a foam sword and then strip the hilt off, and then do the exact same process of building a hilt, and then securing that blade inside the hilt that I duplicate. As far as aluminum, I haven't made very many aluminum swords at all, but steel, I've done quite a few of, and I prefer making those because you don't have to fine tune everything. Even some people do like 3/16 blade blanks, and they paint just a highlight down the middle, so they don't do any grinding, they don't do any distal taper, they don't do anything. And again, this depends on how far away you are from the camera. You can have a hero sword, or you can have a background sword, or you can have a completely crazy off in the distance background fighting prop. And it doesn't matter. It could just be a stick. As long as the camera reads a cruciform shape or whatever it needs to be, they don't care. And then half swords are fun because generally speaking, you can do mild steel or whatever. So you can do a quick and dirty 6-inch cutoff of the sword after you've built the hilt. And since hilts are my deal, that's right up my alley.
Yeah. Have you ever done? So I've done this a few times for from some films that wanted aluminum blades. Have you ever made the hilt as a permanent piece? Excuse me, permanent piece, and then you have like a pin, so aluminum blade can slide in and slide out. So if you break an aluminum blade, you just switch it out real quick. No,
I haven't had to do that yet at all. It's just been like quick and dirty so far. But that's a great idea. Is doing a pin so you can take it apart. Yeah.
So I've noticed, by the way, and it could be just me, but I've noticed that for film, especially, all the folks who want aluminum props are usually California guys. So
sure,
everyone it's West Coast. It's a West Coast thing. On the East Coast, they want steel.
Right.
That goes for theater as well.
Theater likes steel and aluminum.
And then the UK uses a lot of Ireland, all those areas use aluminum as well.
Even like so aluminum is heavily used, especially like with Huerta. I spoke with them at length about their prop weapons. They don't even use wood anymore because for spear halves and such. I still use wood because I know how to work the wood. Sorry, had to shove that in there. So I know how to work in sandwood and how to age it and everything like that. But for everything else, as far as wood on standby or in use, when it snaps, it's still dangerous. Whereas aluminum just goes zip, and then it's fine. So even like Huerta, they use aluminum bars, and then they paint them to look like wood, and then throw them out on set when they use props for that.
Are they hollow? I'm assuming.
That I don't know. I guess they would be bar,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
I thought that was really interesting. I still use wood because wood's stupid cheap, and again easy to work.
Yeah, and if it's a hardwood, it's going to be pretty darn hard to break. So
totally, absolutely.
Stephen, I'm going to give my quick quick general answer to that, and then I'll let you go because
Sure.
it's your topic. Yeah, so for me, prop blades is a very, very, very broad topic. And I think there's a certain stigma out there when people hear, especially people in the like Hemo or historical sword world, when they hear the term stage combat blade, it automatically gives a negative stigma that it's not a historical piece. That can be very true, but also again, so the way we do our blades is it really depends on what it is. But if somebody needs like a lot of live theater, either theatrical stuff on stage for Shakespeare productions and stuff. I did a couple of rapiers for the St. Pete Shakespeare Company. They were steel blades, just blunted, and they wanted the steel blades because it sounds like a real blade. And so you have to make a blade that not only looks like a real blade, but it has to sound like a real blade. So because there's no sound effects, right, in live theater. So for film, they can get away with not worrying about how the sword sounds. Obviously, the sound guy likes if it does sound proper, but it's a very, very broad answer. So it really depends on the prop needs, what the directors want, what the prop's going to be used for. Like we also do a lot of props for costuming groups that have to go to conventions. And you used to be able to walk in with aluminum blades. You used to be able to walk in with steel blades that were blunted. But now there's a lot of restrictions. So now we've made a couple acrylic blades and then paint them to look like metal. Just because of con rules, right? And then, some of our prop swords, the only reason why they're prop swords or stage combat blades versus a real blade is that they're not sharp. And if we were to sharpen them, they would be a sharp real blade. Some people would say, if it's not sharp, then it's not a real sword. So, but that's another question we'll talk about in a little bit. So yeah, the general answer is it depends. It depends on what we're talking about. So, yeah, Stephen, before we go to more specifics on each of the things I just talked about, do you have any general differences in what you would do?
Well,
like, do you do anything different?
For me, it doesn't really change too much as far as what I do, right? So, you make a scabbard that looks good, or you're making a grip for a sword that looks good. Not quite as fancy as you guys. I don't get any of my stuff on film. So usually if I'm making prop stuff, it's more for the costuming, convention scene. So, you get a lot of people that want, I want a scabbard for Link's Master Sword or, that sort of thing. So, try and make it as close as you can for them.
Do you still do a wood base?
Yeah, I do. So, at least on that end, you can keep it as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
Because my big thing with anything I make is, I want it to be able to be used, and worn. Right. So that's always kind of my biggest thing.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. There was another guy who used to do a lot of prop stuff, especially for conventions, and he would actually do scabbards with Kydex, so just heat it up and wrap it quick, and then cover that in leather. He said it was just faster.
Yeah. So I think that's what Weta actually did for the Lord of the Rings.
Is that it might be?
Yeah, I can't remember. It was some sort of documentary I was watching. I think it was Richard Taylor that mentioned they used Kydex and then wrapped those in leather, and that's how they got their scabbard cores so freaking thin.
It's a faster way to do it, right?
Yeah. Good way to do it. Yeah.
Now the cool thing is they did get them thin, right? So when you look at a lot of historical scabbards, they are super thin. Like I'm surprised how thin a wall they get.
Yeah, it's all about the layers, man. The layers is what gives you strength, right? So a lot of people don't realize that, but scabbards and grips.
I've seen a lot of historical scabbards where the wood slats, top and bottom, are actually not connected to each other. It's the leather that bounds and that connects.
It's wrapped in linen or
So I thought that was kind of crazy, but cool. So it makes my scabbards look way too bulky. So I've actually been working on getting my scabbards, even though mine are storage scabbards, right? So if you buy a scabbard, from me, from Sterling Armory, it'll be a storage scabbard that you can store that blade in while you're not using it. But it's nothing like what Steven makes where you want to wear it on your side. Although I'm hoping to get the scabbard blanks good enough that, if we send it to Steve, he can just wrap it in leather and do his magic after that. So,
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned about making props for cosplayers, costumers that want to go
it's
out
a
and
big
wear
thing.
it versus film, because a big difference is quality. Coming from like from a film background, before I was a filmy, I was like, you couldn't have told me that was a terrible looking scabbard or a sword that I saw on screen. Even if you could only see it for a couple minutes, it didn't register that it just wouldn't have any quality to it. And then when you're in film, you realize not all these props or costumes look as good as you thought they were going to. So it creates a whole nother layer of creatability with the piece, because in film you can wiggle that. It's not going to be seen unless they do a close-up and you have your hero prop or your hero costume, whatever. Then you'll have to worry about it. But for the most part, you just have to throw some nasty paint on it. It just has to look just good enough to be caught on film for a split second. You're done. Whereas if you have costumers, cosplayers, all that good stuff, it has to look pretty decent. I mean, obviously it doesn't, because some people's quality or idea quality is like, I don't really care. It can be made of duct tape. Doesn't matter. It gets the idea across. Whereas most people are like, I'd like it if it looked great, because then you have to worry about different layers as far as proportions, aging and weathering techniques, how it looks, balance wise, all that good stuff. Or you can be a psycho like me and just obsess over it. And even though it's not going to be seen, but for a couple seconds at 6 feet away, you still make the best possible thing you can, because you're obsessed with those little details of it.
Well, and the thing too is, with social media nowadays, everybody's got a million pictures of whether it's, movie stills or, pictures of people at conventions. So, we certainly live in the age of everybody kind of micro-analyzing everything. So
yes. And they can, right? Because we're, like you said, we're in the age where every camera is 20 megapixel. You could zoom in and see the Phillips head on any piece of machinery 10 feet away.
When I did that guy, the cap shield, so back in 2010, I got a chance to see the some of the original ones at Comic-Con, and then I was on set to see a couple of them as well, which is nice. Yeah, I recreated that. It was one of my actually, this leads into one of our next questions, but it was a fun prop to do. Back to, before we go to that next question, Josh, one of the funny things I was just thinking of, so when I saw a lot of the prop aluminum blades on Braveheart, and some of them were steel as well.
Sure.
They were horrible looking. They were like the handle didn't even fit on the tang. And sometimes there was a gap between the tang and the guard was just rattling.
Totally. And again, that's prop department.
Right.
That
it was so bad.
That's production. That's what is good enough for them. I've been to stage shows where the pommels are like actively moving around, and the cross guards are doing this, and you're like, their sword is about to come apart. They clearly just grabbed whatever from a flea market, and they don't know any better. But again, that's budget constraints and everything like that. They're like, whatever, it's a sword. They don't care. I've been to. So actually, another good one is the Hale. I went to the Hale Theater recently to watch Treasure Island, and lo and behold, there were pirates with Crusader swords that were just like, ha ha, and like, the production doesn't care that it's not, and it's not a big deal if it's not a big deal. But yeah, just like you're saying, they want so many swords, they don't care. They care more about the quantity than the quality. They'd rather have 5 swords they can pick from that look like shit than 2 swords that to choose from that look really good.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes there's swords in the loosest sense of the word. They are silver painted putty cardboard duct tape, and that's it.
Well, some of the cool cheap background props that look good are actually either wood or plastic blades, but then covered in aluminum tape to make them look. They're metallic. Those are
metallic.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of those. So I think Adam Savage did a whole thing on that, which is cool. So our next question here, because I almost dove into it on accident, was what's been your favorite prop, either sword or any prop that you've made, either for costuming or film or whatever? Do you guys have a favorite?
Oof, man.
Yeah, I've made.
I got two favorites. So one I just pointed to. So Captain America's. I'm not used to. There we go. So Captain America's shield, that's 1-to-1 the original from the first Avenger there's a lot of funny history on the Captain America show, though. It changes every single movie, and not like subtly. It changes a lot. So,
Yeah.
And they've had all the way from 26-inch diameter all the way down to 23-inch diameter. Actually, they did a 21-inch on that's sitting on front of the motorcycle when Black Widow's driving. If you look at it, it's like that shield is clearly smaller than it should be.
Yeah.
And it's been all over the place. And the way they do the back has changed every movie too. So that one's based on the very first movie. And I was actually making them for Marvel for a time. But cool. I haven't done any in years. So yeah, that one. And then my other favorite one is So basically, getting a hold of any original Highlander props is very, very expensive. So this is the handle was a resculpting of the first film, Highlander 1 hilt. So it's not exact to the first one, but it's pretty close. The guard I laser cut myself, based off of like images and watching the movie over and over again. And then the blade is an aluminum blade that I make. I actually make these blades for a couple different sword groups now, mainly for Adrian Paul's sword experience. I'm hoping we'll get, actually hopefully by the time that this is out, he'll have them available on his website. But we're doing a bunch of aluminum blades for him for his class, which also ties back to Highlander, right? So I made, I wanted you can buy steel, katana replicas all over the place, but nobody makes an aluminum prop that they used on set. So that's what I wanted to do with this. And so I remade it myself. Notice there's no habaki here, like there typically would be on a Japanese blade, because their aluminum ones didn't have that, at least on the first film. I don't think they did on. I think the third film they had habaki on, but the rest of them they don't. And then in the series, that's a whole different piece. So I'm not sure what they did with that. But so yeah, so the only difference in this one versus the film prop is the film prop had the pin, which I don't have on this one. I have it on my steel one, but I don't have it here. And that pin had to serve a purpose. That pin is because this whole hilt was one piece, and then the aluminum blade would slide in and out and pin in. So if they broke one, they would just switch the blade out, but the hilt would stay together. So yeah, that's my second favorite prop. And the aluminum we use is that 7075, which Tony Swatton turned me onto. And oh my gosh, this stuff is so strong. It's like, and it's a spring. It's just as springy as spring steel is, as like a 5160. It's not as hard, obviously, but it is harder than mild steel. So it's crazy strong stuff.
Interesting.
So those are mine. Okay, next.
So one thing that I do in my spare time too is I'm part of the Rebel Legion in the 501st, so do some Star Wars costuming. So some of my favorite things to do are Star Wars props, right? So yeah, right. So I'll show you. I've got so this is my lightsaber that I use with my. Let's go this way. There we go. With my Jedi kit, right? Nice. And then, so I don't know who did all this leather work, but it's all right. And then this one is actually my wife's lightsaber. So, yeah. So pretty excited about this one because, kind of just got her into it,
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I almost knocked my camera over when I was.
It's that good, right?
Yeah. Well, I was pulling out.
So another thing I love to do is the blast. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a custom one I made myself. My first
that's nice.
pull up. Yeah, all hand done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not as good as Colton's. So if Colton joins later, this is much better.
It works magic.
Really?
So the only thing I really like about this one that most people don't do is that the emitter ends. So basically, if you drop this thing, anything that would hit the ground is steel. It's not.
Oh, nice.
So I can chuck this thing around and not have to worry about it. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt you there.
Oh no worries. So I love doing these Star Wars blasters. It's just they're the little plastic Mauser replicas or whatever, but they're so much fun to paint and weather and make them look all Star Warsy and whatnot. And you know, it's always fun when you're doing the events. You know, kids love to grab them and take pictures with them and all that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't bring those into the parks. I wish you could. Cause
I know, right?
Every time I go to Galaxy's Edge, I dress up. And so I replaced my holster on my belt with a pouch. So instead of having a gun down at my side, I have an extra pouch, which is very handy at Disney. So, you and I need to get to Disney sometime, Steve. Because
definitely. You know, it's funny. I still haven't been to Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, you haven't? Oh my god!
Very blasphemous.
Yeah. So one of these days we need to get over there.
Yeah, totally.
Josh, you have a ton, so I'm really curious. Can you pick one? Or
it's all sets, right? Like prop making is a beautiful thing. Too? Oh yeah. I got one right here. Cross-guarded longsword. When Saberforge's ASP program first came out, I was like, building everything. So I built my own ASP, and of course they were designed not to be stupid long. So I had to machine an actual, a longer secondary choke out of aluminum to give me an entire full grip. And then I did a Templar leather wrap with the risers on there. And then I machined out a crossguard that would fit around there. Because in my brain, I was like, crossguard and lightsaber is the coolest thing that's ever happened. Yeah. And then lo and behold, do they come out now, years later, with actual lightsabers with crossguards on them. I'm like, I did it first. That was my idea. Disney in the bushes writing down my thoughts.
It's the High Republic. Right?
High Republic, right. Yeah. So, and you remember back 8 years ago when we first started messing around with swords and whatnot and lightsabers, I had drawn out actual bladed lightsabers that were cross-guarded, almost like pre-proto lightsabers. But as far as props go, working in film is you get to just kind of creatively do what you want. They give you an overview of what they'd like to see prop-wise, and it's your job to just kind of pull it out of your ass and have options ready and just go, I did these. And it's an exciting thing and kind of stressful because you're having fun making stuff stupid fast left and right, and then you're on set and you're like, what if they don't like them? Oh my god. And then they're like, perfect, that looks great, we'll choose this one. And then all the stress melts away and you're like, I did a good job. So recently I only usually say yes to prop master gigs if they're medieval fantasy. So I got to make a couple cool treasure maps lately, color them out and do a Dora the Explorer treasure map. I wrote a story. It was a short story that got made into a live action playthrough with Evermore called The Wolves of Winter. And I got to design all their props, all their weapons. I got to design the characters and add a lot, help a lot with the costuming, and all that good stuff. And those props were probably some of my favorite props to do. And in when I was out there. Yeah, and that was that's the thing is you're just kind of winging it, and a lot of the props that I've done just kind of end up doing other stuff because there's a book of the dead, like a vampire book. I got to write the story for the vampires, so I got to come up with these really cool pages, vampire pages, and design a little language to go with it and everything. There's just so many props I've done. It's hard to pick favorites. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't pick favorites. For every one that I'm like, this is definitely the coolest one, I'm like, but this one was also really cool,
right. Yeah, so as we were talking, I'm thinking, I'm kind of thinking we should kind of break this up into, what's your favorite film, theater prop versus what's your favorite prop for, the cosplay costuming world. Because there's, the more I think about it, the more I think those are different for me, right? So it really depends on what world we're talking about. So yeah, one of the other big questions that we get asked all the time. So when we have a booth for Sterling Armory, whether it's at a Ren Fair or at Combat Con or at another convention, we get asked all the time, if you're making a prop version, do you use different materials? And we kind of touched on this a lot already.
Yeah.
But just to dive into it further, if you're looking for prop blades, I'm actually working on a production now At least I'm hoping it turns into a production. Right now they're in pre-production phases, where they're asking me like, "Hey, we have this steel blade, but can you make some aluminum blades? For people." I'm like, "Whoa, hold on! Like, if you have steel blades, stick with steel blades. If you have aluminum blades, stick with aluminum. Don't mix steel and aluminum because the steel will destroy the aluminum blades."
Yeah.
So you just got to be very careful. What you're picking and what you're combining together if they're going to be contacting each other. That's a big mistake that I see often, especially in theater productions, because you can buy a lot of cheap aluminum theater blades, and then somebody will show up with like the hero prop will be a steel blade, and that just doesn't work. So
Sure.
Yeah. So
and that does happen a lot with productions. Productions are at the mercy of the person that knows what they're doing versus production like trying to make it happen but not knowing every single facet of it. Facet of it. So they'll show up on set with like, here's all the props that I did, and some of them will be aluminum, some of them will be mild steel, some will be steel, and they don't like know the ins and outs, so they just have to trust them and go, okay, let's just take all these. You know what I mean? And you'll have that from time to time. As someone that, just like you said, it's not their fault. They just don't know any better to go, we'd like these for steel because they're cheaper, and this guy's gonna have a aluminum one, that kind of thing. And then before you know it, your mild steel goes and your aluminum goes clink clink and chews up, and then your steel one's just king.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, as far as different materials go, so we use a lot of aluminum for so live. It can be good in live theater again if the whole production is using aluminum. Or if whatever aluminum you're using, it's paired with another aluminum piece. And aluminum can also sound really good too. Actually, sometimes it can sound better than steel, depending on how the blade's made.
They have a sharp ring.
Yeah, they do. I don't know. So I'm going to do something that I just said not to do. So steel Witcher prop blade, and then aluminum. That's mostly the steel we're hearing. Hold on. Can you hear the aluminum? Probably not. I can hear it because it's a real high pitch, but I don't think you guys can pick that up. So maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it's translating.
This blade is a thick aluminum blade. If that was thinner, it would have resonated a bit better. But the steel prop blade, that's just, I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds
I can hear that one.
And then, so for this Witcher blade, it's only a prop because it's not sharp, right? But I'm actually going to sharpen this blade up and turn it into a sharp blade because I want to cut with it. So
nice.
So yeah, it's currently a prop blade, but so a lot of folks when they think stage combat blades, they automatically think zero distal taper. It's just a brick designed to use on stage. That's not how we do our stage blades. So none of the Sterling Armory stage blades, unless you buy one that was made in 2006, which some people watching might have when I was younger and didn't know better. But any blade made after like 2008, 2009 is actually made, even though it's made for stage or theater or film, we actually do proper distal taper. We make it just like we make our real pieces. And we put all the same care and detail and everything as we would a real piece. We just don't do the final sharpening on it. That's really the only difference. So, yeah, but this one will get sharpened. So, the other big question. A lot of people will, especially a lot of new directors and a lot of new, whether it's theater or film, or even some cosplay and stuff. A lot of people think they rather have what we call a sparring blunt blade because they know it's a safe blade, but not realizing it looks like a stage blade. It looks blunt. It looks like actually I have an example. You can't walk around or do a show with this because the tip clearly is a big sparring blunt. So this would not work as a stage combat blade because obviously it's not sharp at all. So the big difference between stage combat blades and sparring blunts is that they have to look like they're sharp. They have to look like they're real, but they're just not. So that's a big difference between sparring blades and stage blades. So I think actually, our page will have a video series on that pretty soon. Oh, don't fall over. Is that gonna fall over? It might. So, but yeah, like, you know, it goes back to my answer at the very beginning. Is it really, really depends on what the product and what the production wants. But I definitely wanted to dive more into the costuming cosplay stuff because I know, Steven, you do a lot of that, right? I used to do a lot of that. I sadly haven't lately because I've been too busy making blades. So, but yeah, especially Star Wars, and I want to put together a Rohan, like whole.
Oh yeah, man. Those Rohan kits are great.
Yeah, and then Josh, I want to say that you've done a crap ton of like Lord of the Rings and like armor and everything, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically anything I make is themed after Tolkien, fantasy, Skyrim, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot of commissions where it's just like armor and a sword right from Lord of the Rings?
No.
You've cosplay stuff?
I've used it as reference for people, but the way I've done costuming, even in the past, I've been lucky this way, is saying I will borrow theme from it, but I will never make a stage accurate version of it. It's too much of a pain in the ass because it's so hard to please people that want that that screen accurate version that I just don't want to deal with it. So I'll be like, I'll do my own design, and I'll usually sketch it up and go, hey, like this piece behind me right over here. You know, someone will come and go, I really want this, and I'll be like, cool, that'll be the flavor, but it won't be exactly the thing that they're wearing. I'll just do my own thing, and if you want that, that's fine. If not, no worries, no hard feelings. And more times than not, they'll go with it.
Yeah, that's something I run into quite a bit as well. You know, people are like, well, I want, you know, a screen accurate version of Aragorn's Scabbard, and I'm like, well,
right.
You know, first of all, Weta created that Scabbard. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's something you got to be a little careful with.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, I always tell people kind of the same thing you do. You know, I can make you something within that vein, you know, and a lot of the stuff I do too kind of has that Tolkien-esque, you know, the swirly designs with the vines and that sort of look. But, you know, I definitely try and steer clear of anything that's specifically, you know, straight out of the screen or anything like that. Because
yeah,
absolutely.
I'm actually recreating a Ranger blade, or is that right? The Ranger sword, Aragorn's Ranger sword. Mm-hmm. So that's one of my commissions right now. But yeah, I had to tell him like I'm gonna have to do things differently because I don't want to recreate that one for one.
Mm-hmm.
And,
totally.
Yeah, I'm actually excited though because the blade is turning out really nice. So I'm excited to get that one done.
That's one of my favorite film swords. So very cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I have one of the props, or not props, the excuse me, the United Cutlery versions. That I have here. I don't know how close that one is to the original. But from looking at pictures of the original, it's pretty close.
Yeah.
So I'm using that to make sure that I'm not too close to the original piece. So because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, so as a maker, it always makes me feel better to be able to throw my own art into it and not just make a duplicate, you know?
Absolutely.
So when I was making this guy for myself, because I did a lot of cosplay as Captain America way back in like, 2010, 2011, 2012? I forgot when that the first movie came out. I think it was
2012.
Was it 2012? Was it that late? Okay.
I believe it was 2012.
So around, whatever, 2012-ish, whenever that was. So when I made that shield, I made a few for some friends, and then I got a cease and desist from Marvel saying, hey, that's too close. Like, you're too good. Don't do it. So at first I was pretty upset by it because I'm like, I'm not selling these things. What the hell? Like, why am I getting a letter from Marvel? And then I got an email from a Marvel exec saying, no, don't be upset. It's a good thing. Just don't make them a lot and don't sell them. Yeah. Because
it's kind of flattering in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of flattering.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they hired me to make some for them. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason why I haven't made them lately. I get people asking me to make shields, when they know that, oh, you're the Chris Fields who made the cap shields for Marvel. They always ask me to make them one, and I'm like, I can't do it because I don't own the rights to it now. I can't sell you one. If you want that, go to Marvel. So
Right.
So yeah, it's tough. And now they're making, I don't know if you noticed, but they changed the shield design in the newer shows. So they're kind of covering all the basis for the people who are making shields close to Captain America shields, but not exact.
Yeah.
They're saying, nope, these are all ours. You can't make it. So, but I got out of the shield stuff because, and I tell people all the time, like, you know, I rather make my own IP, my own stuff.
Right?
So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's cool that you guys, I've actually thought about doing like a whole, like, what would be the word for it? Like a whole Rohan theme kit, or like a whole, what's the White City called? Why I can't think of it. Oh, Gondor set. Like
Ministerial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just do like sword and shield, but make it very generic, but clearly in that theme. I just haven't got around to doing it. So
Yeah.
Josh, I think you'd be much better at that than I would. So
Yeah. A lot of my stuff is Gondorian.
Really?
Gondorian, Rohirrim.
I knew I liked this guy. I knew I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can see this helmet right here. I used like gladiator / horse lord Rohirrim pigtails on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
where
done
theirs
full
is more
specs.
Viking. I like that big forehead tank piece.
Is that Eomer's helmet or Matt Mardigan's? I'm not sure now.
Yeah.
I know.
Mixed.
Both of them are so good. I
Yeah.
love that finial. The finial just drives me wild.
Right.
Speaking of Matt Morgan, yeah, he's back in.
Yeah, he's back. Yep.
That's the rumor. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that. I'm actually
I'm
that
excited.
whole show, the trailer dropped for that, and I'm kind of curious to see how many commissions or requests we get to make pieces out of that.
Well,
So,
sure. I think
Yeah, that's
the
really
the most asked movie prop I've been asked to make has been, or I say movie prop in general, has been either the Princess Bride rapier or Link's power sword.
Master Sword.
Master sword.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. He-Man's is the power sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a while, it was Master
Both. I'm
Sword.
like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Damn.
Have you ever made one of either?
No.
I have made a Master Sword. That used to be the most requested, but now the most requested is the actually for probably about 6-7 years now, and I don't know why, but the most requested film prop sword I make, for me to make for them, is the pan sword from Hook. The gold blade
Sure. Yeah.
coconut hilt. I've made a few. I don't know why it's so popular, but man, I always get, for a couple of years I was getting at least
I remember.
one or two requests a day.
Yeah.
And and Tony Swatton, the original maker, still makes them. So I send people his way. Like, if you want one, I mean, he made the original. Go to that guy. So,
Right.
yeah, I didn't realize how popular that piece is. But yeah, I get requests
Same.
still all the time.
Hmm.
So it's interesting.
Such a weird sword.
Yeah, it's very weird, and that's one of those ones where people will send me a picture. So back when I was making a few, and I asked Tony, "Hey, is it cool if I make these? Like, you know, I'll send them to you, but you know, I can make a few here if that's all right." And he said, "Yeah, no problem." Because I'm not making like hundreds. I think I've only made 3, maybe 4 in my entire life. But depending on what scene it's in and who's holding that sword, it is very, very different. Some of the blades are almost leaf shaped. Some of them are just straight, chunks of metal. And I think Tony said that he made a couple of the the hero props, but then the prop department, separate from him, made copies of it that were like spring loaded for stabbing and all sorts of things. And because they had to do all these versions, it changed the shape of the blade. So, some of them have the coconut covered and stuff. Some of them it's bare coconut. It's so different depending on what still you see. So, yeah, it's a tough one to nail down. So,
And it varies why that reason is, like, as far as working in film. Like, I'm thinking of just instances where we've used the sword and the actor went at it too hard and broke the prop. So we had to just make a sword that obviously wasn't the right sword to look like it for a couple scenes until that scene was done. So we could actually work on it overnight and give them the sword the next day. There's been so many times when that's been the case that it's just entertaining to think about. Like you were saying, like, obviously a very different sword. It's like, yeah, but in situations in film, you're forced to just kind of do what works right away.
Yeah. So you got to film
Yeah.
today. You can't wait.
You have to film now, right? Yeah. You can't. Yeah.
There's a couple of famous mess ups due to that same reason. Do you remember, especially in Star Wars, when in Episode 3, when Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting each other? There's a point when Anakin has Obi-Wan pinned down, and there's a close-up, but Obi-Wan actually has Anakin's hilt in his hand. It's because he kept breaking his own hilt. So they're like, here, just use this. We'll take the shot real quick and go. And now it's a clear blunder in the, in the shots.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So Steven, I'm kind of, so you do a lot of scabbards and stuff for cosplay and prop stuff. Have you done any prop like blades or any other prop stuff that you can do out of leather? Or
so I do some some smaller armor pieces. I'll do bracers. Obviously for the Star Wars community, I do a lot of belts. So the Jedi belts and
that's a big thing.
Those are a lot of fun to do. So you get like the requests for like the Han Solo rigs. Those are a lot of fun to do. I actually had one not long ago that was really cool because a friend of mine is into axe throwing, and so she wanted a holster that looked like Han's belt, but with like a little side scabbard for her axe. Instead of like the gun holster. So that was pretty cool to do.
Yeah. So I did. So see this if we ever go to Disney together. By the way, so Disney just opened up the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. And I also did a lot of cosplay as Star-Lord because it's a lot of fun. But when you're at Disney, especially when you're at Galaxy's Edge in the Star Wars area, so what I did is I melded together a Star-Lord belt with a Han Solo belt and kind of blurred them into one. And that's where instead of having holsters on my side, I have pouches. But yeah, hopefully you get a chance to see that if we ever get a chance to go. But yeah, it's super fun. And people actually point out like, wait, is that Star Wars or is that Guardians of the Galaxy? Yeah. And it's like, well, it's both.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. It's always cool to kind of get those little mashups every now and then. You
Yeah.
know? So one of my personal costumes I'm working on now is a medieval Jedi. So those are kind of fun to do.
Josh has done one of those.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
the Jedi Knight.
Jake Bartok. He's an artist all over Instagram, and he did these really great medieval Star Wars mashups. And he actually did a Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings series, which was fantastic as well.
Nice.
Yeah, really.
Sounds like it goes right up your alley.
Yeah.
Josh. So Josh did some cool. I don't remember what you were doing it for. I think you were just doing it for yourself. I don't know, but it was a really cool Jedi tunic design.
The Sith Seeker. Yeah.
Yeah. Did that ever get finished?
The costume did. Yeah, I took some snaps of it, and then I moved to Utah and just was busy ever since. My end game was I really wanted to write a script and film a story out in like Goblin Valley, and use the character to actually do like a little fan film. But life gets in the way, and you just never get to circle back around to it. And then you get too fat for your Jedi armor.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Let's not talk about
Yeah.
that. I put on the Star-Lord the other day, and I was like, nope. I'm more Andy Dwyer than I am Star-Lord right now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Medieval Jedi is very close to my heart.
Very
that
nice.
was the tunic you designed was pretty sweet. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I'll have to see that, man. That's very cool.
So I found it the other day. It was actually it was somehow it made its way into a clear plastic tote underneath my shop bench that is now full of bronze shavings.
Oh, no.
So it's probably, I mean, I'll probably have to do like a battle worn look now. That's
that's Star Wars though, right? It's weathering. Yeah. It's fine.
Correct. Yeah. I call it blue collar Ridley Scott.
Do you have the sketches of that still though?
Yeah, somewhere up on either my website or Instagram. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll send you those. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So there's a couple other questions. I'm trying to remember the questions from prop stuff. So different materials, we already covered that. Favorite props, I think we covered that. The bad stigmatism when it comes to stage combat blades. I think we covered that. I don't think I'm missing anything. I think that's pretty much about it. But
Are we actually going to finish a full 5 minutes before an hour?
I don't know, maybe. So one thing I was going to say is going back to the original topic of props in the prop world, and I think a lot of people watching this will be good info for them. So I think we need to separate it between film, stage, theater, live theater, and then cosplay. Right? Those are three very, very different categories, and a lot of people think that the same blade should work for all three, and that's definitely not the case, right?
Yeah.
So for a lot of when you worked on Outpost, Josh, did you do? Hopefully, I can say that. I think I can say that, right? Did you guys use aluminum or did you use steel?
We used steel for hero swords and background swords, and then foam for the actual like clashing sword fighting ones.
Right.
So
that's what I was going to say.
That was interesting.
It's almost a requirement now for film that if you're actually fighting, it almost I think there, especially in the UK, it has to be foam, like because they won't insure the actors to work with anything else.
Right.
So I know, like I've been asked before. So I made this is kind of a close example. So I made an extra thick aluminum piece that whoever the prop department was in the film could actually cast that and mold it in foam directly off the size of the aluminum. So I've done that before. That's something very unique to film that you won't see in theater. And I mean, there are some cosplay folks who use foam weapons as well, but they're usually like the LARP foam weapons.
Right.
And some of those look really darn good.
There's for us. There's very, There's so the way we did those, it was interesting. On Outpost, it was the border guards, the Covenant. The Covenant. They're called the Red Elect, and they needed a specific type of sword. So I got to they were like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "I'll order a sword off of Amazon for $20 and then rehilt it." And they're like, "Yeah, sounds good. Try it out." So I did it, and they liked the design, so they okayed me to purchase 15 more and then do the same thing. So all the guards, and then I made scabbards for them and everything as well. And they liked it to the point where I just got to run with it. And those were all steel, so they basically were like, "Cool, good job on that. Now you have to do foam versions." And I hadn't done foam swords at that time. So my way around it was to order foam swords online, like you're saying, the LARPing swords that looked just barely good enough. And then bandsaw the fancy foam hilts off of them, and then just build from scratch another hilt, wrap a piece of cord glued up around the fiberglass tang, and then fill the the recess in the hilt with epoxy resin, and then jam it down there, and then the cord would act as threading. When it dried, I had a foam sword. So if you pause quick enough, it's steel, and then when they go to clash, it goes from a 1/4 inch blade or a 3/16 blade to a 3/4 inch foam. Right. And then of course there's no way to get rid of like the wiggle because some of them you can do an aluminum bar inside to keep it rigid, but they also don't want that rigidity for safety reasons in case someone gets smacked in the face with it.
Yeah, the Witcher one, remember we noticed back on our first or second sword talk, we noticed the foam sword, the casting lines. You could see it.
Right, yeah.
So you can tell the guard and everything, that piece was casted. So yeah, when I was up on the Guardian set for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 set for a little bit. And what's her name? Gamora's sword, which is the hero proper of that, is a massive solid cast aluminum piece. And that is it's a very heavy piece. I was surprised how heavy that was. For being aluminum, but it's so thick. And the reason why it's thick is because the original design of that piece was not in aluminum. It was designed in foam. Or rubber. So the foam rubber piece is super lightweight. It's really nice. And the actress, why am I blanking on her name right now? Zoe. She can use that. Yeah, very well.
Atlanta, I think.
Yep. And then they have the different sizes of it. because that sword folds down to different sizes, right? Starts as a dagger, then can be a short sword, then can be a long sword. And they have a foam version of each of those, which I got a chance to play with. But when they came to Hero Prop, they wanted an aluminum one, and they're like, well, shoot, we don't want to make it too thin. So they actually kept it the same size as the foam one, so it's super heavy. I think the aluminum one was probably like 4.5 pounds. It was crazy.
Holy crap.
Yeah, so I felt
correcting myself on the outpost. We did use 2 aluminum swords. 2 hero swords were aluminum. The main character, Talon, her little short stabby sword, that was an aluminum sword, and I forget his name now. The character for it, the border guard like captain, his sword was also aluminum, and that was made. I didn't make those. That was made from a guy called Alred. I think his name Alred Shalom. I forget his name. But he's a good dude, and he laminates aluminum bars and then sculpts it with a Dremel. He just sculpts aluminum like a Dremel.
Oh, cool.
With a Dremel, and it was a fascinating thing to see.
I don't know if I told you. Do you know where I learned the foam and rubber casting from? So Wolverine claws.
Oh, right.
So I did a lot of aluminum and steel Wolverine claws way back in the day for a lot of costuming folks and guys at conventions, and I was one of the few guys way back in the day who could actually get the little fixture right, and I got a chance to see some of the original ones. So, so I got the wires right, I got everything right, and I was able to mill out the aluminum blades. So I got those done right as well. So at that time, this would have been like 2006, 2007. So some conventions allowed steel as long as it wasn't sharps. Some said no, but they would allow aluminum. Some would allow no metals. It had to be plastic, so or rubber. So which is why I basically made thicker versions of my aluminum ones, and then recast those in a rubber. And I played with all different types of rubbers, all different types of foams, and finally found a couple different versions of those that I could do really well. And from that experience, that just built on whenever like a production needed something other than metal, like a foam or a rubber piece. So I was like, oh yeah, I know, I know what you need.
Man,
so
we might have to talk about those Wolverine claws, man. That's like one of my dream cosplays.
Yeah, I'd have to redo it all over again because it's all the molds and stuff I chucked away years ago.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick. Wolverine is my favorite Marvel superhero because we're the same height. So,
comic 5'3".
Yeah, that's short.
Nice.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you must wear tall boots when you're at Ren fairs.
Ouch.
No. Damn, Fields.
Because you were much taller than 5'3".
Yeah. I get the it's the Tom Cruise line of shoes, and they work great.
I'm pretty sure you were almost eye to eye with me when I talked to you when I saw you at the last Ren fair that I saw you at.
I'm pretty sure you were 6'8".
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, right, I played football, and so every year the newspaper would do this thing on the returning starters for each team or whatever. So my coach, I mean, obviously I was 5'3" at the time, and I weighed probably 180 pounds. My coach would list me as 5'10", 240, which was awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
And
then you walk out and you see this line of guys. It's like 6 foot, 5'3", 6 foot. Yeah.
I wanted to play cosplay Wolverine as well, way back when, but I wanted to do the Weapon X version with the big battery, had the big helmet.
Oh, yeah.
And I made like a leather harness rig and battery packs and everything like that. And I had the chest hair like ready to go. But then again, my legs are way too skinny. No way you'd believe it. And I'm thick, like 6'1". So yeah, couldn't believe me. But that was something I really wanted to do as well. Is be like, I want to see the Weapon X big helmet cosplay.
Yeah.
Never built the helmet. I only did the battery packs, and I think I've eventually sold those on eBay. That and walking naked around a convention is generally frowned upon these days.
Well, you got a diaper on, right?
You could get away with that. No, he didn't. Wolverine didn't have a diaper. I think he had a battery pack just positioned in front of his crotchals.
It looked like a diaper type thing, right?
Yeah. All leather and bear fur.
If dudes can walk around as Slave Leia, you can walk around as Weapon X. I'm just saying.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Equality.
Right.
Yeah. Well, at Dragon Con, dudes walk around with just socks.
Oh yeah.
True. Yeah.
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 So, but yeah, Steven, I think the last time I saw you, I mean, it had to be a Hogtown, right? I don't remember how long ago.
I don't think we actually met at Hongstown. We talked about it, and then
No,
I think
not this year, but I'm talking about last time we actually met, because we have met, but it was just a long time ago, right?
must have been.
Yeah, I don't know. I when he said 5'3", I was like, what?
Yeah.
I just remember.
Maybe you were sitting down.
Maybe, yeah, because I'm picturing what your coach said about you. 5'10", you know.
Yeah, that's me. 5'10", 240.
Yeah.
5'10", Jesus.
Yeah.
5'10", 240.
Yeah.
So,
4 feet
yeah.
wide. It's great.
Yep. You just as wide as you are tall.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So speaking of scabbards and other things that you were talking about earlier, that just popped in my brain. So, and again, this will probably come out either after Combat Con or maybe just before Combat Con at the end of July.
Mhm.
Is there any chance you think? So if I sent you a blade pretty soon, would you be able to get a scabbard for it in time for Combat Con, or is it too late?
Remind me of the date of Combat Con?
Last 21st of July.
Of July?
Is that right?
Yeah, I could probably make it work.
So, but well, correction. I have to be up in Salt Lake the 18th, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
No.
So
Is
so
it
the
18th?
17th or 18th.
So I could probably. As long as the weather and all that cooperates, I could probably knock one out for you in a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll see if I
Didn't you
can
say
sit
you were?
these-
Didn't you say you were coming the Friday before Combat Con?
I'd like to. I don't think that's going to.
That's the 15th.
Right. So it'll probably be
Yeah.
the 17th.
17th to be Sunday.
Right.
Which is also my birthday, by the way.
Oh, really?
Which one?
July 17th.
Oh.
Yeah, because you
You
remember
coming,
how
are you coming to Combat Con?
I wish, dude.
Come on, man.
Couldn't even make it
Get
to
out
Blade.
here.
I wanted to go to Blade, but that didn't happen either.
Blade's
Oh,
fun.
man.
There's a lot of stuff coming out of Blade. We're actually hoping to have some guests from, that were at Blade on our Sword Talk pretty soon.
Very cool.
Especially hoping, I've known Matt Stagner a long time and hoping he can jump on. He just got a pretty good promotion type, or not promotion. What do you call that? I've had too much to drink. He got his JD. I don't know if that's a Master Smith or, but he got his certification. So it's
The Journeyman?
cool thing. Journey, yeah, there you go. I don't know, I can't think. So Matt's probably watching this like, oh god, don't talk about it.
Damn it, Fields. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have half a bottle of Screwball. Yeah, so it'd be cool to hear about that whole process, because that's new to us. We're sword makers, right? So the knife making world is very different, much more.
Sure.
What's the word for that? I guess there's much more standards involved with that. I guess that's a good way to say it. But yeah, any other questions or not questions? Any other points or topics on cosplay or props or anything that we haven't touched on yet? I think that is a no.
I don't know.
All right. So that
This
sounds like a
episode
good
was really
place.
rushed. This episode
so?
was really rushed. That is just, we're just trying, man. We're trying so hard.
Right, just been an hour.
Yeah. Does anybody have any favorite prop makers?
Oh, that's a good one.
Prop
A
makers.
lot,
Oh,
a
man.
lot of people are watching.
Good
too,
point,
so
Warbear. Mhm.
Be careful what you say. There's a lot of
Yeah,
people
love that
watching.
guy. That guy's pretty great.
Yeah,
Um,
this guy.
So no, I mean, I can honestly say, so I got into sword making due to a lot of prop makers, right? So Tony Swatton's a big one on there. Jody Sampson was a big one on there, and then after them came Peter Line, and then so now Todd. You can say Todd for Todd stuff. He's doing a lot of props now too, even though
For
they're
Witcher, yeah.
for
Yeah, the
Witcher
Witcher
and a
stuff.
couple other.
Yeah, I think
Um,
Peter Lyon's my favorite movie prop, or I guess sword-specific prop guy.
Right,
My favorite cosplay prop maker is a girl named Ansley. Her Instagram is like Pigtails Power or something like that. She does. She worked with Eva Foam. She does like sculpting and castings and stuff. and her stuff is like otherworldly good. She does very rad stuff.
Wow. There's a lot of really awesome foam and plastic, especially acrylic cosplay prop makers, especially swords out there that blew me away.
Yeah, there's some serious creativity out there. I mean, there's people that just, I mean, they come up with stuff. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I was making a couple of acrylic, so I did an acrylic couple Witcher blades. I did Sirius blade, I did Geralt's blade, all out of acrylic because convention that they were going to did not allow aluminum or any sort of metal whatsoever. And they turned out really good. I used the Alsa Corp, ALSA Corp. That company does a lot of really cool spray chromes that are very, very, very awesome looking. Like they look like metal. And they came out great, but compared to what I've seen other folks do who specialize in doing that sort of prop stuff, I mean, they were just okay. so now when people ask, I say, nope, I make real blades. If you want a steel or aluminum blade, I can do it. But if you want, something acrylic that looks real, go to somebody else. Go to this person over here. I try to give them some links because I've seen some really awesome props for cosplay stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's something too that like just with swords in general, right? So I get requests every now and then to make Saya or other like Asian swords and whatnot, or like modern military stuff. I'm like, well, it's not really. I mean, I can do it. Is it going to look probably what you're looking for? Probably not. 'Cause that's not what I really do. So,
sure.
I think it's also important to know when to kind of refer out. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right,
yeah. I rarely touch anything that's not in my general interest fields.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you do a cavalry saber? Yeah, I could, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I hate to tell somebody like, look, I don't even like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're not trying to do it, you know what I mean? Like, how good does it turn out?
I used to not like telling people no, but now it's just like, hey, it's cool, man, but no, I can't. I could, even if I could, I don't want to. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
If you want to buy something I have already that I've already made, or like go, can you make this? And it's like, oh wow, I really want to make that. Absolutely, I can do that. But not so much other stuff.
Josh and I were talking about this at length, and we came to the same conclusion. He's there already. I haven't quite got there yet because I'm still taking commissions. But well, I can't say that. I'm not taking commissions anymore. I should say I'm finishing commissions. So I have 3 left, and then I'm done. But yeah, we came to the conclusion that commissions are just not the way to go. You just got to make what you want and sell it, and hopefully people like what you make.
Absolutely.
Taking commissions just makes it not fun. And
and that's not everyone, right? There's some people out there that love taking commissions. They love the challenge, and good for them. That's awesome. For me, my brain, how I work,
pressure, working under the timelines and that sort of thing too. It's
totally
it's
timelines and expectations.
Yep, that's one of our next topics. that almost was today's topic, but that'll be a next one coming up.
Ooh, well, speaking of that Witcher sword, man, whenever you sharpen up and getting ready, we'll have to make a sweet back scabbard for it. Who doesn't love a back scabbard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that one might be going to Combat Con. So
if it goes to Combat Con sharp, it's selling.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have time to do that, but I'm definitely going to make a couple other
back
ones.
scabbard.
Yeah, so
I've had to make a couple back scabbards for the Witcher swords. I use a 2-strap with a double D ring on both sides, so they can cross tie it both ways and interthread it into the secondary sword. I usually stay away from back scabbards just because they're a bit of a pain, strap system wise. But that one was kind of fun to make. See how
they did it for Witcher, by the way?
They just tie it onto his armor.
Well, they had to shorten the hell out of his blade. Is what they did.
Oh, I bet. Because he doesn't have the arms of an orangutan.
Like halfway on the side.
Yeah, his blade is only weird, 31 inches long.
Yeah, it's got some kind of weird like flip system or something on the back, like a hinge, so you can actually like draw the sword from his back.
I really liked. I loved how Braveheart handled it. I'm surprised that more people haven't done that. And Braveheart, the way he did it, I don't know if you remember his scabbard and the whole prop system set up then, but it had a piece tire on the top that was tied to a piece on his belt or on his baldric. He can just pop that off, and that broke the piece tie. and then he would reach back, and there was 2 hooks like prongs,
Yeah.
and then like an envelope. So he would pop it off the prongs and then lift it out of the envelope and then bring it around.
I've done a few scabbards
design.
like that actually. For like, claymores and all that sort of thing. People use ungodly swords. But yeah, I mean, it works, as far as drawing it. Putting it back in, that's a whole different story. But
right.
No. So that's I'm waiting to see in Witcher if he ever puts it back. But so they did test.
You know who did though? You know who did? Have you guys seen The Last Kingdom? Uhtred he resheathes this sword a couple times.
Oh,
which I thought was
I haven't
impressive.
watched it. I'm actually in the middle of watching it the second time around.
I've just watched the entire series in a week.
So
5 seasons. Oh, his sword was different. His sword was different season 2, episode 2. The pommel changed only for 3 episodes, and then it went right back to the number 1.
Yeah.
It went
the
from
handle grip changes throughout the show.
Yeah. The pommel, because it was just straight up a gem on the end of a sword, and like season 2, episode 2, it was almost in its own chamber where it was like a socketed onto the end of it. And in my mind, I was like, I wonder if the sword pommel broke the episode before that. So they fabbed up a really quick socket set to hold it and then changed it back later. But I was interested to see that.
I appreciated the grip changes though.
Totally.
Because, that's kind of one of those things where you see these guys that are, supposedly using their sword all the time. That leather's going to wear out. So it's kind of cool to see them, continually changing out the grip wraps. I thought
it is still one of my least favorite swords in film.
It could have been a lot better.
Oh,
For next time they do that, But the show overall. So our second guest, Sam, from Sam, what's her channel? Shoot, Sam Fantasy and Fun, or Sam Fiction and Fantasy Fun. She has a whole thing on The Last Kingdom and also The Witcher. She's doing The Witcher chapter by chapter from the books. And so because of her, I went back and watched the whole show. And it's I kind of wish we were involved in that to be able to make some of the props.
Sure.
There's a movie coming out. So
the show to 7 Kings Must Die. Yep.
And I was like, I wish I could have been on that because I could have, I think any of us here could have helped them to a slightly better design aesthetic.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not gonna lie, I cringe a little bit at the open like sword frogs on the dude's sides. There's a couple of those guys that said like the live blades bouncing around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of their they just have straight up lark frogs where it's just like a leather flat that's tight bound over the top holding it over.
Yeah.
And I was like,
speaking of that, if you go back and watch Braveheart, when you watch Wallace ride into the first big battle, and the first time he has his blade on his back, and the massive unsheathed blade is just bouncing against the horse.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, you'd be slicing your horse up every time you take a gallop. So it was pretty funny. I didn't catch that till like, I don't know what, the 10th time I watched that thing. I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So I think that does it for everything. We kind of focused on swords, but the prop world is huge, especially when it comes to leather stuff, right? I mean, I've actually done full up leather. We didn't even get into costuming stuff, but I've done a full up leather Wonder Woman from the latest Wonder Woman films. I did that for our friend Kenzie, and it came out. I think it came out really well, and that was all leather.
Yeah.
So the way the cosplay world and the convention world uses like EVA foam and stuff. EVA foam is great if you want something that's not quite as durable but cheaper. But if you want something that's a bit more durable that can give you the same look, you can go right to leather, like hard, thick leather, and it's going to be a little bit heavier. But that's going to be a durable outfit that's going to last a whole lot longer.
Yeah. Leather, and I know people use a lot of Sintra too. Is a big, for armor pieces and whatnot.
Yeah, and leather lasts longer than Sintra because Sintra cracks, right? So Sintra, especially if it's in sunlight for a little bit, it will start cracking on you.
Right.
So if you're walking down a parade in downtown Atlanta at Dragon Con, if you do that in Sintra twice, that Sintra might be cracking on you at that point. So whereas leather would last, no problem. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to touch on before we? So we're at 120 or a minute. I can't even talk now. Way too much drink. So we're at an hour and 20 minutes. There we go. I can talk.
There we go.
Anything else we want to hit on?
I'm easy.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
So yeah, I hope you guys, everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed our sword talk, talking about props from all different places and coming from all different backgrounds here. If you have any questions on any props or anything that you're interested in doing that you might need our input on, I know I answer a lot of questions per day on cosplay props, especially cosplay swords. I get probably 5 or 6 emails a day on. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us. You're going to see all of our links in the comments below. And so real quick outros. Josh, you want to sum up again who you are, wherever we can find you? And,
I'm Joshua Warbear. You can find me at Dark Archer Design on Instagram or on my Facebook, Joshua Von Warbear, or my website, Dark Archer Design. So far, those are the only. Or you can, if you're in Utah, find me in Orem, Utah. That's where I live. I issue you challenge. Find me and discuss with me nerd things and fight me in Street Fighter.
I'll be out there in 4 weeks, won't I? Or 5
4 weeks? 5 weeks. Yeah. 5 weeks. We'll both be in Orem. We both issue you challenge. Chris isn't as good as Street Fighter, but he'll still go at it. Yeah. Yeah. Take us to drinks. If you want to buy us a drink, take us to the bar. Just because I said I don't have a problem saying no to commissions. I still want to. That's been weighing on my head now. Just because I said that doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you about your project. I'm not an asshole. If I don't want to do your project, I'm sorry. That's just me. But let's still talk about it, even though I'm going to say no. I still want to hear it. I love talking to people about their projects and then helping out whatever way I can.
I'm sure you've been doing the same thing I have. I give it. Like, so if people ask me to make something, I say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't. I have too much going on. And then, I go email after email after email helping that same person out on, or even on Messenger.
Same, yeah.
Kind of walking them through what you can do.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I try and sub-work out for all you other makers and crafters out there that know me or that I know. Generally, if I'm come to with anything and they're like, can you do this? And I'm like, I don't have time or no, but here's this guy that is pretty rad, or a girl that is really rad at what they do.
Always good to have that.
I recommend them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Between everyone will get it done. It'll get done.
And I think just real quick too, I think that's a really cool thing about like our community in terms of sword makers, leather workers, kind of that working. It's a really niche community, right? And I don't think anybody really competes against one another. Which I think is great, so it's like, if I'm not great, if I'm not the greatest at doing something you want done, I know, Josh can do it or, the guy Valiant or whatever, and same thing with you guys, if it's not something that you can take on,
absolutely.
I think it's one of the greatest things about, our community as well.
100%.
I get a lot of requests for either rapier work, which I send to Arms and Armor, or I get requests or I send is it Jesse Belsky?
Belsky or Belsky? I don't know.
I'm not sure, but he does his rapier handles.
My brain says it's Belsky.
Yeah. And then Brendan O from Australia.
I
mean, especially lately, he's been knocking out rapier cages that are just phenomenal. So I send them that way because I don't want to do it. I've made some and I don't want to do it again. So, and the same with the katana. I know guys who specialize in doing katana, so I don't want to do katana work because I'll send them their way. So,
right.
Yeah, I hear you. So, Steven, you want to give a quick overview on where everyone can find you again?
Yeah. So, I am Steven Huerta. I'm on the Facebooks, Steven Huerta Custom Leatherworks. Also on the Instagrams, I believe it's Huerta Steve Leather or Huerta Steve Custom Leather.
It'll all be linked below.
Yep. I'll get you guys the links for sure.
Yeah.
And then I think go on weebly.shcustomleather.com. I think that's also my website, which probably hasn't been updated in ages, but it's there.
You use Weebly too?
I do. The free one. I'm not fancy, man. I use it.
Yeah.
So apparently I need to get on that. So
I started my Weebly in like 2006. And I did the free one, and then I upgraded, and then never paid anything past a month. I think they just forgot to delete it because it's still been up, but it hasn't upgraded since like 2007.
You've been grandfathered in. It's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think I'm part owner now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
sorry, Chris, didn't mean to cut you off. What?
No, not at all. I need to get on the Weebly bandwagon apparently. So I'm on.
Man, super easy. This show brought to you by Weebly and GoDaddy.
Yeah. Our website's on 1&1, but I haven't updated it, Steven, like you mentioned earlier. I haven't updated mine in forever. It still says under construction. So if you're out there and you want to help with website work, please let us know. We actually we said this before in other Sword Talks, and we have gotten responses on that. So hopefully we will actually have a website up and going pretty soon. But until then, we do everything on Facebook or Instagram or here on YouTube. So if you're here, you obviously know our YouTube stuff. And then all of our Sterling Armory links for Facebook and Instagram will be below. And you can find Josh and I there. And then if you want to get a hold of Steven for Scabbards, you can also just message us and we'll point you over to Steven and give you his contact info. Or it should also be below in the comments. So I think that covers everything. Right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks Steven for being a guest today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for bringing the topic up as well. We haven't touched in the prop world at all, so all of our Sword Talks so far have been film and theater stuff in terms of our favorite past stuff, but we haven't talked about us actually making prop stuff yet. So it's been a fun talk. And especially Josh and I probably of the Sterling Armory team have the most experience doing prop stuff. So we're hoping to have Colton on because he's done some lightsaber stuff, but I'm sure we'll catch him up in the next one. So, alrighty. Well, thanks, Steven. Hopefully you'll have you on again as a guest in the future.
Yeah,
and anytime if you think of any topics as well, and this goes for Steven, but also our whole audience, if you guys have any topics for us, I've gotten a few topics that you guys have sent in, and actually by the time this one airs, we would have already talked about 2 of them that you guys sent in, which is great. So this is episode 10, so episode 8 and 9 were customer sent in topics, which is fantastic. So please keep them coming.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's because you were drinking while we were talking about it.
That also could very well be.
Well,
my fingers are not as close to the pulse.
You listen to your audience. That's fantastic.
Right, yeah.
Just one of you.
So please keep them coming, and hopefully on the next Sword Talk, we'll have a bit more of the Sterling Armory team on as well. We the last month, so this month and next month are going to be super busy for us, building up for Combat Con. So, and then some of our team just had a baby. Some of them, everyone's busy right now. So summer is a busy time, but hopefully we'll get more of us on as well. But thanks again to Steven for joining us, and excited to have you on, and hopefully, and we got to get to Galaxy's Edge. So
absolutely,
I want to go. No, don't bother inviting me or anything.
No, you gotta come to Florida.
Let's go. And I'm like, okay, I'll just
you gotta come to Florida. You know, it's Florida.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my fault. Okay.
It is, yeah. I have not been to the one in California yet, though. So.
Have you been to the one here in Utah?
Yeah, the Evermore. Yeah, you took me.
The Star Wars.
At your house?
It doesn't exist.
Yeah. Desert.
Oh. Yeah.
Is that the real life Tatooine?
Yeah, it's like it's basically a bunch of old shopping carts stacked on each other behind a 7-Eleven. It's more of a Jakku feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
They haven't torn it down yet. I like to get over there.
I like it.
It's going to turn into a brewery out there, right?
So, yeah. Either way, you sign a waiver. So.
Yeah. Well, thanks, audience, for joining us and hanging out this long. And we're gonna cut it off there. Actually, we're right at a minute or a minute.
15 seconds. Yeah.
We can do it.
So thanks,
15 seconds.
everybody.
We can make
Yep.
it.
We'll see you guys on the next one. All right.
Later, guys.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.
Have fun.
And
Take
then,
care.
guys,
Five,
hold on.
4 seconds.
You guys
3,
here,
2,
hold on. I'm
1.
gonna pull this one off, but you guys hold on.
0.